I had a choice, and I chose Landmark Recovery's addiction treatment program. They showed me a proven pathway to recovery. What will you choose?
Choose life. Choose Landmark Recovery. Visit landmarkrecovery.com to learn more.
Planes, trains, automobiles, and motorcycles. If you've spent a lot of time working or playing around loud vehicles, you may have trouble hearing on the telephone. Get back in gear with Relay Indiana, providing telephone accessibility to the hard of hearing. Relay Indiana allows hearing-impaired callers to have normal phone conversations through voice recognition technology. And there's loaned equipment for those who qualify. Add clarity back in your phone conversations. Get the CapTel captioned telephone from Relay Indiana. Visit relayindiana.com.
There are 48 million unpaid family caregivers in the United States. Visit aarp.org/caregiving to access a free guide to help navigate your caregiving journey.
There are screening tests to catch cancer early. Visit cancer.org/getscreened.
Smile, though your heart is aching. Smile, even though it's breaking. When there are clouds.
This is Saturday Night on the Circle on 93 WIBC.
If you smile
this week,
through your fear
Thursday,
and sorrow,
a bombshell report was dropped by the Biden administration in the most stunning abdication of responsibility yet from the president. Shocker, and no less on a holiday weekend. We'll dive into that. Thanks for listening to Saturday Night on the Circle. Catch my podcast at SaturdayNightOnTheCircle.fireside.fm, WIBC.com, and streaming on the YouTube where you can join us in the chat in progress. But before we get into all that, producer Carl is once again joining us, beep, 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 pushing those buttons and doing the things to make the show function. Back from a sojourn in the wilderness to Sweden. How's it doing? How's it going, Carl?
It's good to be back.
Did you enjoy the trip? How was it? What'd you see?
The destination was great. The trip, not so fun. 3 connecting flights.
How long is that?
It's flew to New York City, and then it's 8 hours across the Atlantic. And then we had an 11-hour layover in London because we missed our flight.
Oh, my God.
Because we didn't make our connecting flight. It was no fault of our own. So
I guess you're getting over a bit of a cold, too. I hope you didn't bring back the European coronavirus variant.
I was telling Ethan that I almost coughed up a lung on Gun Guy. He was a little worried there.
If you hear some hacking and gacking in the distant background, worry not. Producer Carl is getting over a bug. But what'd you see? What sites? What architecture? Did you see any historical sites? Any old churches?
Well, in London, of course, we saw Big Ben. We saw Buckingham Palace. Sweden, we were in Gothenburg, so that's more of the manufacturing area. But I did take a train trip out to Stockholm. It's an impressive city, and I was saying to Ethan that we loved it as tourists to go see Europe, and we didn't feel threatened. I wonder how European tourists feel when they come to the United States, because our big cities like New York and LA are very scary.
Did you see Greta while you were over there? She's a big celebrity in that country.
Well, Finland, they're all the same, right? The Scandinavian countries. I was looking for Greta, but I did not see her.
No Greta. Well, we're glad to have you back here safe and sound in the United States of America. All right, so we begin this segment with the Biden administration's stunning refusal to accept any level of responsibility in the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan. I couldn't believe the scam they're trying to pull on the American people, and apparently neither could NBC, which wasn't really able to hide how clownish this take is from the administration.
Nearly 2 years after the deadly and disastrous American withdrawal from Afghanistan, those stunning images of Afghans desperately chasing U.S. planes and the airport terror attack, which killed 13 U.S. service members. The Biden administration releasing its after-action review, trying to pin much of the blame on former President Trump, who had left office 8 months earlier, including citing sharp drawdowns of U.S. troops.
It is also undeniable that decisions made and the lack of planning done by the previous administration significantly limited options available to him.
It all makes makes sense. Nearly 8 months after Biden took office and became not just the president, but more importantly and specifically the commander-in-chief of the military. Yes, it's Donald Trump's fault for the disastrous withdrawal in Afghanistan. What a joke this administration is. Shameless in its attempt to abdicate responsibility. And John Kirby in particular was a host to a plethora of clownish takes on the withdrawal. I mean, look, the Taliban retook control of the government nearly immediately, and since then has posted numerous photos of their American military hardware. But John Kirby saying that, of course, that wasn't the Americans' equipment. No. Not only is it Trump's fault for the withdrawal, but that equipment doesn't even belong to the United States. Get this.
In looking through this, it doesn't seem to address the $7 billion in military hardware and technology that was left in Afghanistan for the Taliban. You know, the president took office in January. The withdrawal happened in August. Does the president take responsibility for leaving all or some of that?
You know who was responsible for that equipment? The Afghans. Because you know why? It was their equipment.
What? Hello? It's the Afghans' equipment, you understand? Well, who gave the Afghans the equipment, producer? I see you guffawing over there. It's the Americans. The Americans gave the Afghans the equipment, but of course, so it's the Afghans' fault. It's Donald Trump and the Afghans' fault for the disastrous withdrawal in Afghanistan. This cartoonish, buffoonish take from the administration. John Kirby again attempting to deflect, saying, well, by golly, you know, we just didn't leave the equipment behind, and I really dispute that $7 billion figure. And by the way, the small, teeny, tiny, micro amount of equipment that was left behind, well, it was disabled, but we didn't leave much behind. No.
There was very little, and I mean very little, U.S.-owned equipment or U.S.-operated equipment that we left when we left Afghanistan. I'm talking like some forklifts at the airport, and some ladder vehicles, some fire trucks that we were using at the airport. But the helicopters that we left there, all disabled, so the Taliban couldn't get them flying again. Whatever ground vehicles like AMRAPs or Humvees, they were all disabled at the airport.
Forklifts at the airport? That's incredible, producer Carl, because the Taliban, from their official Twitter page, mind you, Donald Trump banned from Twitter, but Taliban allowed to operate, an official page on their platform. But they're not taking pictures of forklifts. Those are Humvees, hundreds of them lined up in rows. What they do, like convert them, salabim, malabam, magically, and they go from forklifts into Humvees and helicopters. That's incredible, producer Carl. That is astounding and amazing. But that is the take that they chose to drop late on a Thursday in prep for dumping it on, the wasteland that is a holiday weekend when most people are getting together with their families and doing more important things than focusing on this nonsense. What were you getting ready to say?
Yeah, that's why people tune into you, Ethan, because you catch it.
Well, we like to be the teller of truth here on the weekend. I like to think of Saturday Night on the Circle actually as the tentpole program that kind of ties the ratings together. They drop off at the end of Friday, but then they tune in for my show and they stay tuned in until, the morning programs with Tony Katz and Rob Kendall and Casey Daniels. That's the importance of my show, Saturday Night on the Circle, or the tentpole program. We tie the ratings together. Much like the rug in the dude's room from The Big Lebowski. Anyway, getting off track there. The cartoonish takes from John Kirby, circling back like Jen Psaki, continuing to make a clown show of this administration, saying that there was a lot to be proud of.
Nobody's saying that everything was perfect, but there was a lot that went right, and a lot of Afghans are now living better lives in this country and other countries around the world because of the sacrifices and the work of so many American government officials. So yeah, there's a lot to be proud of, Peter.
preface that statement by saying the Afghanistan citizens who survived, because these are the same citizens, many of them aid workers who helped with the United States during their decades-long occupation of the country, clinging onto airplanes and then falling to their deaths. We, of course, talk about the tragic loss of 13 Marines in the attack at the Kabul airport, but often neglected is the loss of 170 civilians, again, many of them, aiding the United States during the occupation of Afghanistan, and then completely abandoned by the administration in the most disgraceful fashion. But again, from John Kirby, he didn't even see any of this. He didn't recognize that the chaos was even there.
And so for all this talk of chaos, I just didn't see it, not from my perch. At one point during the evacuation, there was an aircraft taking off full of people, Americans and Afghans alike, every 48 minutes. And not one single mission was missed. So I'm sorry, I just don't buy the whole argument of chaos.
The Biden administration claimed that the Trump administration provided no plans for how to conduct the final withdrawal or to evacuate Americans and Afghan allies. President Biden has committed to ending the war in Afghanistan, but when he came into office, he was confronted with difficult realities left to him by the Trump administration. And you are the president of the United States, presumably elected to handle those difficult realities. I thought when Biden was elected, the adults are back in charge. We're going to restore respect to America. But all of a sudden, that kind of decisive leadership, he just can't cut it in a time of actual crisis. But he can't even admit it was a crisis, according to John Kirby. Oh, we didn't see any chaos unfold. And of course, most of all, this is disrespectful to the thousands of Americans whose lives were senselessly thrown away in this military-industrial complex war in Afghanistan, the never-ending war, and we've only continued that conflict now in Ukraine. But it is most disrespectful to the military members, and one of them in particular called out the Biden administration, pointing out that, yes, it is his responsibility. The buck stops at the presidency, or at least it used to. I think that was a Truman administration thing, but, not anymore.
Lance Corporal Jared Schmidt died in the suicide bombing. His father said the 12-page summary is an insult.
You're the president of the United States. The buck stops with you. It's your responsibility. Stop making excuses.
The long-delayed White House release happened on the cusp of a holiday weekend, and there are no plans to make public the classified details given to Congress.
Trump, of course, had plenty to say on Truth Social, noting Biden is responsible, no one else. And you know what? The former president is right. That is Biden's responsibility. And this abdication of it is disgusting and shows his lack of reverence for the country he's supposed to serve. You're listening to Saturday Night on The Circle. Stay tuned for more. We've got fun conversations coming up in the show. You'll hear our friend Abdul up next later in hour 2. Rob Kendall coming on. Don't miss a moment. Keep those dials locked to 93 WIBC.
The pothole. Formed in colder months, tiny fissures are born. And in no time at all, they grow into big, gigantic tire killers. That's why you need Matt Baird Traffic.
Watch out on Keystone Avenue.
He'll guide you around these hidden monsters.
Yeah, might as well call it a basement.
And on to safer ground.
You don't want to be in the far left lane.
Mornings and afternoons on 93 WIBC.
Planning for retirement all comes down to what matters most for you. Is it a vacation home? Is it traveling the globe? You could call the team at Howard Bailey Financial to help you plan for your retirement and to help you have a successful and fulfilling retirement. Great things in business are never done by one person. They're done by a team of people, and I'm excited to share that Singer Financial is now Howard Bailey Financial, an Indiana-based retirement planning firm.
The Howard Bailey team possesses credibility at both an ethical and professional standpoint. They will deliver you a customized framework that allows you to create the meaning of retirement. Whatever you visualize retirement to be, let the Howard Bailey team customize a plan specifically for you. If you're ready for your best retirement, come forward and see the Howard Bailey difference.
Investment advisory services may be offered through Howard Bailey Securities, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Working with Howard Bailey Securities, LLC cannot guarantee investment success or that specific financial goals will be achieved.
For adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy, now there's Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months, and Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Nothing in me go hand in hand. Nothing on my skin, that's my new place. Nothing is every day.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms, such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
With Skyrizi, you could achieve 90% clearer skin. Ask your doctor about the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Hey, it's JMV in Spring. It's here at Sundown Gardens in Westfield, and right now, Sundown Gardens has 20% off all gift decor in Miss Mary's gift shop. Spruce your home up for the spring with 20% off all gift decor. Sundown has a second location coming later this spring, Miss M's Home and Garden by Sundown Gardens in Bargersville off of State Road 135. For now, visit Sundown Gardens at 186th Street and Spring Mill Road. That's sundown.gardens.com. Again, sundown.gardens.com.
Hubler has it, savings. Hubler has it, choices.
Hubler really does have it all. All of our pre-owned vehicles are Hubler Q certified, which include a 128-point vehicle inspection, a free Carfax vehicle history report, and 2 warranties. A 2-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty, and a 30-day, 1,000-mile comprehensive warranty. Visit any of our 13 locations today, or click drivehubler.com.
Hubler has it all.
First, I hold my hands out like they're on a steering wheel. Then I look over my shoulder. 1, okay, cool guy. 2, 3 times. Next, I put it in reverse. Meep, meep, meep. Then I take it up and down, up and down. And that, kiddos, is called the forklift.
Dance like a dad. It's a great way to make a moment with your kids.
Now that's dancing. Sure beats flossing.
Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
The Phone Ready quiz from the American Academy of Pediatrics will help you decide if you and your child are ready for their first phone. Go to healthychildren.org/phone ready quiz.
When you're high, you feel different. But if you feel different, you drive different. So don't drive high. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Saturday Night on the Circle on 93 WIBC.
Welcome back to Saturday Night on the Circle, where I'm your bespectacled curmudgeon, Ethan Hatcher. And podcasts are uploaded to WIBC.com, and you'll find us streaming on the YouTube. The Indianapolis primaries have begun in earnest as one Republican has flooded the city with mailers and inundated the airwaves with commercials, setting the stage for a David battling Goliath scenario ahead of the May 2nd vote. But like this mythic tale illustrates, sometimes it's brain that outmaneuvers brawn. Joining us now is the man on the campaign trail battling against the forces of mediocrity, and the guy I'd love to be our next mayor, the one and only Abdul Shabazz joins the show. How's it going, my friend?
Going well. How's everything going for you?
Everything is excellent. The first thing I'd like to get into with the campaign, especially with just over a month to go, what's your sense about how you've connected with the Marion County primary voters?
We feel we've done a really good job because, in a nutshell, there are only in the last 2 primary elections, in each election, only about 18,000 people actually came out and actually voted and participated in the Republican primary. So what we're doing is we're targeting our message toward those voters who've come out twice in the primary. So we don't have to spend as much money as our counterparts do, because we've got a very targeted, very focused campaign, and we're reaching those guys because our yard signs are going like crazy.
So you're saying the surgical approach, because that was my next question. What is the strategy for overcoming the $600,000 behemoth and what amounts to a campaign carpet bombing strategy across the city? I mean, I have gotten no less than 7 of those laptop-sized mailers on the thick card stock with the bright colors, and it's like, my gosh, every day practically, or every other day, I should say.
Yeah, well, they tried carpet bombing in Hanoi, and it didn't work all that well about 50-something odd years ago. So just an FYI. We realize Jefferson has a lot of money. We get that, and we're not going to be able to compete with those types of resources. So our team said, why bother trying? No, let's make sure we don't have to raise a lot of money. We have to raise enough money to get our message out and reach our voters. We're advertised on WIBC. We got mailers going out, I want to say, in a couple of weeks. We've got some other things going to be taking place. Then with earned media. So, like I said, we feel good about our strategy and what we're doing. Now, is it a guarantee? No, not all. We'll find out on May 2nd, who actually wins this thing. But we feel good about where we are.
What's the response that you've gotten from voters you've spoken with?
Very good. And it's kind of weird because when we talk about our campaign, first of all, people are excited. And that's something that a lot of people are wanting to be just excited about a candidate, be excited about the possibility of change in the city of Indianapolis. So for that, we feel actually really good about sort of where we are.
Well, I was inspired by the message, public works, public trust, public safety. It's, one of those bullet point kind of issues you can fit on a napkin. And it's right on target about the issues that our city is currently facing. And then, I've known you since I was 16, so I was just stoked to see you running for mayor. What have you learned from your first time going out for public office? I mean, this has been something in the works for decades. What's your learning experience now that it's underway?
Well, one thing I've always told myself is a truly smart person knows what they don't know and is aware of that. And so that's why I have really sharp people around me. My campaign manager, Megan Umloff, she worked on Greg Ballard's campaign, Kelly Mitchell's campaign. I'm a fundraiser, Norma Unzer. She's really good at raising money. And so you let people do their jobs and just sort of give general direction. Then I have what I call my WTF guys. That's the what the blank guys who keep me from doing stupid stuff. Like, no, dude, you can't do that. You're fired. No, I'm not fired. Because I'm a firm believer every elected official or politician needs a WTF guy or gal.
Is that Chris Spangle?
No. Well, Chris Spangle's one of them.
He's one of them.
Chris Spangle, Brad Klopfenstein, and a good friend of mine named Gary Bailey and a couple other guys.
Yeah, both all really solid guys. I've talked with Brad a few times. Actually, I was at the last campaign fundraiser at the Brad Klopfenstein Speakeasy. That was really neat. I plan to be there at Nikki Blaine's. I mean, Norma Unzer's doing a great job because I've already given you more money than I've given any other politician at this point.
I feel like Las Vegas. It's like, hey, Ethan's back. Come on, dude. Come on in. We got your drinks and your slot machines, your crap tables right here.
Well, it's gambler's fallacy. I'm invested at this point, so I expect there's going to be a payoff. But when I'm spending the money with you, I prefer to think of it as blackjack versus roulette because at least there's a strategy there, and it seems that you have a strategy going forward with the campaign that I appreciate.
Yeah, because one thing we made it a point to do was. Unlike a lot of elected officials, when they run for public office, they say, "Well, we'll work to lower crime. I'll work with neighborhood groups. I'll do this. I'll hire more police officers." They never tell you how exactly they're going to do it. So what we did was when we put our public safety, public works, and public trust plans together, we actually put in some details, like on how to deal with the homeless issue, like on how to deal with our road issue. And I tell people, you know what? If you don't like it, that's fine. Give me another idea that's better, and I'll take it. Because you know what? Good politicians borrow, but great politicians steal. I'll happily steal your idea. And by the way, and I'd also remind people, too, that these ideas are written in WordPress, not on stone clay tablets. So not stone clay tablets, not from Mount Sinai. They're not the Ten Commandments. They're ideas on how to make the Indianapolis better. And if someone comes along with a better idea, I'll be happy to take advantage of it.
Right. Adjustments can be tailored as needed, just like the suits from your friends at Leon Tailoring.
Exactly.
So speaking of details, what does Abdul's first day in office look like if you do win the primaries and ultimately become mayor?
Well, the first thing we do is ask for a recount. That's number one. Is ask for a recount because that'll make my wife happy. It's like, honey, look, we're actually mayor of Indianapolis now. Like, oh, God, great. That's just what I need. And the first thing is there's some things that the mayor can do by executive order. There's some other things that needs council's approval. Other things needs legislature's approval. But one thing I'm definitely going to do is bring back the Office of Public Safety and bring back a public safety director. You cannot fight a war without a Secretary of Defense. Imagine the president trying to run the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, and the Marines and the Coast Guard. You can't do that. So you need somebody who eats, sleeps, and drinks public safety 24/7. So that's one of the first things I do is bring back the public safety director.
Do you have any candidates in mind?
Not yet.
Not yet.
But like I said, yeah, that's a November type decision.
Right. Something coming down along the line. Hey, congratulations, by the way, on your opponent getting charged with scrap metal theft. I imagine that has helped ease the campaign struggle at least a little bit.
Well, it's funny because John Couch accused me of leaking the story, which I didn't really leak the story. The story was up there on mycase.gov. So, why get mad at me? You should be happy you actually got some campaign publicity. You got more publicity in the last 24 hours than you have all couple of months. So,
yeah, it's ridiculous. But as far as the campaign goes with Jefferson Shreve, I mean, do you think that he? What is his ultimate strategy with voters? Because I've heard there's turmoil in the campaign. You know, he's turned over his campaign advisors a number of times now. Do you think that he's able to successfully connect with those Marion County voters just by right of making those ridiculous mailers and then, you know, putting on the commercials on the air basically every other minute? I mean, I can't turn on the station without hearing from him at least once.
I will not criticize other person's campaign strategy because I'm assuming they know something we don't. We're just focusing on what we're doing,
Fair enough.
Our goals, and reaching those 20,000 Republican primary voters.
Fair enough. I'm looking forward to the results of the May 2nd primary. Obviously, you've got my vote. I think that you've got a plan for the city going forward. I'm energized by it. I've seen you talk with Marion County voters in person, and hopefully we'll be able to surmount the campaign. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm thinking also, hopefully, in the next couple of weeks, we'll start running commercials on television. We just did a taping on Friday. So,
and if any voters want to show you support, where can they find more information?
Abdul4Indy, number 4Indy.com.
Excellent.
ABDUL.
Thanks for your time, my friend. I appreciate you coming on the show.
Hey, thanks, Ethan. My pleasure, sir.
Stay tuned to 93 WIBC. We've got a lot more coming on Saturday night on The Circle.
Tony Katz.
It's best, Mr. President, that you don't know what you're guilty of. It's best that you not know that these documents pertain to conversations regarding Ukraine, where your son was having business dealings and making millions of dollars, and now they, meaning the free and thinking world, can connect your classified document, the classified documents in your possession, to things that may exist on your son's laptop.
Tony Katz, mornings 6 to 9 on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
Couponing. Wow, you didn't strike me as the coupon type.
Just trying to stay ahead of inflation. Gas, groceries, everything. It's all more expensive. I need to save wherever I can.
Have you tried Upside yet?
Upside? What's that?
It's a free app that I use that pays cash back for every gallon of gas I buy. You've got to buy gas to get around anyway. Might as well get paid for it.
Come on, does that really add up to anything?
I've already made around $200. The extra cash helped pay down my bills, and I even had a little extra left to treat myself.
And the Upside app is free?
Totally free, and the cash back is real. You can transfer the cash right to your bank account.
I'm downloading Upside right now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code OIL to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, to PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code OIL for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code OIL for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
Greatness doesn't happen overnight. It takes time, focus, and dedication. At Shelter Insurance, we understand that because we put in the hard work and dedication for decades. And that commitment is paid off with award-winning customer service for your auto, home, and life insurance. Visit shelterinsurance.com and find an agent to help you choose the coverage you need. Shelter Insurance. We're your shield. We're your shelter.
We need each other because every someone needs someone else.
We need each other because when we work together, we can do so much more.
We connect more children with what they need to grow up healthy, educated, and safe. And that's what Child Fund is all about.
Because when you make someone's world better, you make everyone's world better.
Child Fund, because we need each other.
Learn more at childfund.org. That's childfund.org.
I'm Joe Chira. Former President Trump's legal issues don't seem to be hurting his campaign fundraising.
Trump's indictment so far has proved to be a real boon for his campaign. From a fundraising standpoint, he continues to rake in the dough, hauling in over $12 million since being indicted. And now he's going after DeSantis' dollars, emailing a memo to donors with internal polling results that they claim shows a 2-to-1 head-to-head advantage over the Florida governor. Now, DeSantis has yet to enter the race, but as we reported, PAC supporting him has raised a whopping $30 million.
Fox's Griff Jenkins. Taiwan's defense ministry reporting that dozens of Chinese aircraft crossed the Taiwan Strait today. The Taiwanese government says China's actions are in retaliation for a meeting between House Speaker Kevin McCarthy and Taiwan's president. China says the warships and planes are combat readiness patrols. America is listening to Fox News.
You don't have to be officially engaged to start looking at engagement rings together. I'm a jewelry consultant here at Chain Company, and we have couples come in all the time to see our great selection. A lot of them like to pick out their top 3 rings. They make it a date, and it's fun. With so many options to create a one-of-a-kind ring, you may not know where to start, and that's where we come in. We're here to help. Chain Company has over 1,000 engagement rings in every price range, from sparkling pave styles to elaborate halo designs. High-quality rings in yellow gold, white gold, rose gold, and platinum. For your center stone, Chain Company offers all shapes and sizes of natural diamonds, lab-grown diamonds, and a broad spectrum of natural, colorful gemstones, from over a dozen colors of sapphires to rubies to peach morganite and more. Come see us at Chain Company today and have some fun picking out your engagement ring together.
Now you have a friend in the jewelry business. Shane Company and ShaneCo.com.
I'm attorney Darryl Isaacs, the Hammer. If a car accident has left you with a concussion or memory loss, you could be suffering from a traumatic brain injury. Just click to get help quick, so we can help you get the medical attention you deserve. Go to WeWin.com. That's WeWin.com.
We may be thousands of miles apart, but we can still connect. And when we do, we make things better. At Child Fund, we connect children all around the world with what they need to grow up healthy, educated, and safe. Together, we co-create connections that help millions of children who live in poverty worldwide, and their families, and their communities, and you. Join us. Together, we can make the world a better place. 2 small worlds at a time. Visit childfund.org to learn more.
Overcoming drug addiction is difficult. The road to recovery is different for everyone. Find the path to recovery that works for you. Learn more at cdc.gov/stopoverdose. Find the path to recovery that works for you. Learn more at cdc.gov/stopoverdose.
You don't own me. I'm not just one of your many toys. You don't own me. Don't say I...
You're listening to Saturday Night on the Circle on 93 WIBC.
Duplicitous intent speak for long enough, they'll tell you their bad intentions. This week, there was no better example than the Biden administration's chair for the Council on Environmental Quality, who revealed the real basis for the long-running con job. Also this week, Disney showcased more changes to their woke live-action remake of the 1989 classic The Little Mermaid, and even ABC-employed members of The View seemed to throw shade at the revisions. Finally, more ridiculousness from the AOC clown show, so don't miss a moment of this week's edition of Hat Tricks with Hatcher.
It's time for another one of Hatcher's Hat Tricks.
The story you are about to see is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
You're listening to Saturday Night on the Circle on 93 WIBC with producer Carl. Beep, 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 beep. Pushing those buttons and doing the things to make the show function. We begin this week with an interesting slip from Biden's chair on the Council for Environmental Quality, noting how they would disperse federal funding using a particular tool But check out the drop. It's in the name.
You know, the climate and economic justice screening tool is going to be the base for us identifying what those communities are. And that is basically a mapping tool that was created based on like areas using factors that show the disadvantage that occurs, like places where there's high flooding, places where there are health impacts, places where there are air impacts, places where they're like subject to legacy pollution. So those are all combined together to create a map. And that map is a basis for us as we are looking at funding that is needed.
Whoa, let's rewind the tape for just a moment. Producer Carl, did you catch that? Right there at the very beginning, what she said. This is supposed to be a climate tool, but what was it there?
Economic justice?
There we go. Economic justice. Let's play it in slow-mo.
Climate and economic justice screening tool.
Economic justice screening tool. Whoa. So here we go. We're literally just shifting dollars around, redistributing the wealth to change the weather. That's what this climate justice, so-called, is about. It's they dropped it in the name. It's not climate justice. It has nothing to do with the climate. It has everything to do with wealth redistribution. That's what the con job is really all about. They don't give a damn about the weather, and if they did, government can't change it. But they can take your wealth and redistribute to those they feel who are victims, but most importantly, voters. So that's what this scheme is really all about, and I thought it was an interesting drop from Brenda Mallory. But the cartoonishness doesn't end there. Of course, this week, Donald Trump was officially arraigned on Tuesday, brought before the court in New York, and according to Karine Jean-Pierre, the Biden administration was completely unaware.
When we first learned about the indictment, the president was not given a heads up. He was briefed by his chief of staff, and he learned about this just like all of you through the reporting.
Learned about this just like all of you. Do we believe that? No! Not for a moment. This is a clearly political maneuver targeting the former president, and it's been engineered at the lowest and highest levels of the Democrat Party, all colluding to target the former president. So, you know, this is just a smoke job. It's just a screen of interference, but obviously not truthful. Karine Jean-Pierre also took time to slam Tennessee Republicans for pushing back on the insurrection at the Tennessee Capitol. Protesters temporarily took control of the property in a similar fashion to January 6th. Here's a cut from last week. Mostly peaceful protesters, as they say, and Karine Jean-Pierre slammed the Tennessee Republicans in an effort to expel the Democrats who led these protests into the Capitol building, saying that the fact that this vote is happening is shocking, undemocratic, and without precedent. Not the insurrection, the vote to punish the insurrectionists. So, you know, apparently turnabout is not fair play in the Democrat playbook. Another thing I wanted to cover, though, of course, we've seen the wokery being peddled by Disney as an entertainment company, and no property is safe, especially not their animated classics. One by one, they've gone through and essentially ruined them, injecting modern messages and critique or changing the original plots to suit modern audiences. The latest victim of a casualty of this trend is going to be the Little Mermaid, releasing later this year in just a month. I think it's the end of May. It's coming out. And even the ABC employed shills at The View kind of poked fun at the changes and revisions being made to this.
Hey, welcome back. So the live-action update of Disney's Little Mermaid is getting a rewrite on some of the songs that filmmakers don't think age very well. And the man who wrote them, 8-time Oscar-winning songwriter Alan Menken, said he's tweaking what he originally wrote in the songs, like Kiss the Girls and Poor Unfortunate Souls to reflect a more modern view on women's consent and female empowerment.
Let's get one thing out of the way. This isn't the original songwriter who's going back to tweak because he thinks that there's revisions that can be made to his original work. No, this just happened 30 years ago, like 34. It came out in 89, so 34 years ago. Has the culture significantly changed so vastly since that time that we can't have the original lyrics of the song? No, this is clearly the Disney Corporation strong-arming the creator, again, to shield from criticism. But even the hosts of The View kind of clowning on it, and they pointed out how nonsensical some of the alterations are, especially to the villain song.
But with the Kiss the Girl, she gave her voice away so she could have legs. So I don't know how she could talk.
Oh, wait a minute. So wait a minute.
But
when this consent thing happened, she had legs. Because I was thinking, as a mermaid, how far could it go? It go to second base. That's it.
Yeah.
No,
but she had legs.
She has legs. Now we're talking.
She has legs. So how do you consent?
Am I right or
when
wrong?
You can't talk?
I'm right.
But on Poor Unfortunate Souls, that's the bad guy. The bad guy's supposed to give bad advice, like her being like, "Oh, don't
Ursula?
speak, men will like you." Yeah, Ursula's. We're not saying take her advice to the bank. She's clearly the bad guy.
Holy crap! Even The View picks up that you're sanitizing the villain song. The whole point of the villain is to tempt our protagonist into actions they wouldn't have otherwise take, and then sanitizing it kind of dilutes the message. This is completely ridiculous. They've changed and altered so much. They might as well make a different tale entirely. Maybe even drawing inspiration from the original, where the mermaid dies of heartbreak and turns into sea foam at the end of the story. You're listening to Saturday Night on the Circle 93 WIBC. Also wanted to cover, let's see. Oh, yes. AOC balking at, of all things, judicial activism. The Democrats can't stand it when rulings in the judiciary don't go their way. In this case, Texas blocking the FDA approval of a medicine for abortion purposes. And AOC's solution, instead of fighting the ruling in court and seeing the process through to the end, is simply ignore it.
There has been thought, I believe, given to this. Senator Ron Wyden has already issued statements, for example, advising what we should do in a situation like this, which I concur, which is that I believe that the Biden administration should ignore this ruling. I think that the courts have the legitimacy and they rely on the legitimacy of their rulings. And what they are currently doing is engaged in an unprecedented and dramatic erosion of the legitimacy of the courts. It is the justices themselves, through the deeply partisan and unfounded nature of these rulings, that are undermining their own enforcement.
I think it's hilarious. What she thinks is undermining the integrity of the judiciary is this ruling in Texas, and not Alvin Bragg's ridiculous display in New York arraigning the former president on 30 largely vacuous felony charges, actually misdemeanor charges that have since expired past the statute of limitations, that he's bootstrapping into federal crimes. That's not a pollution of the judicial system. This is, at least in AOC's book. Absolutely ridiculous. And then finally this week, we also learned that the Biden administration lied once again. The Chinese spy balloon, was spying and did gather intelligence.
And new this morning, NBC News has learned exclusively that the Chinese spy balloon that flew across the U.S. back in February was able to gather intelligence from several military sites. This latest reporting is based on new information from 2 current senior U.S. officials and 1 former senior administration official. For more, we're joined by NBC News global security reporter Dan DeLuce. Dan, good morning. So clearly a major development. What do we know about this finding?
Sinclair, really interesting reporting here from our colleagues Courtney Kuby and Carol Lee, saying that that balloon that flew over the U.S. was able to collect some intelligence, and it was often able to pass multiple times over some military bases, and they were picking up electronic signals and sending them back to China. So that would be possibly eavesdropping on conversations or picking up on electronic signals from West weapon systems.
Could have shot it down, but instead the Biden administration tracked it, identified it, and let it fly over our military installations and gather intelligence for the Chinese. And you tell me that he isn't somehow in the bag for the commies overseas. Ridiculous. Thanks for tuning in to Saturday Night on the Circle. More to come, including an update on Richard Allen's state physical condition at a facility in Cass County. We'll tell you more up next on Saturday Night on the Circle.
Kendall and Casey.
Tom Brady, his 10-year-old daughter hijacked his Instagram account. She started posting pictures of their new cat. Tom finally got his phone back and came out and said, yes, I'm now a cat dad.
Do you remember when things that people were interested in actually used to be things that were worthy of being interested in?
It's also kind of frightening that his 10-year-old got into his account.
Kendall and Casey, weekdays 9 till noon on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Kids across America are going to school hungry every day. No Kid Hungry is providing healthy meals and hope to hungry kids so they can build better futures. Learn more at helpnokidhungry.org. The Indianapolis Public Library. More than just books. Visit your local branch today.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
Couponing. Wow, you didn't strike me as the coupon type.
Just trying to stay ahead of inflation. Gas, groceries, everything. It's all more expensive. I need to save wherever I can.
Have you tried Upside yet?
Upside? What's that?
It's a free app that I use that pays cash back for every gallon of gas I buy. You've got to buy gas to get around anyway. Might as well get paid for it.
Come on, does that really add up to anything?
I've already made around $200. The extra cash helped pay down my bills, and I even had a little extra left to treat myself.
And the Upside app is free?
Totally free, and the cash back is real. You can transfer the cash right to your bank account.
I'm downloading Upside right now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code OIL to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, to PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code OIL for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code OIL for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
Hubler has it, savings. Hubler has it, choices.
Hubler really does have it all. All of our pre-owned vehicles are Hubler Q certified, which include a 128-point vehicle inspection, a free Carfax vehicle history report, and 2 warranties. A 2-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty, and a 30-day, 1,000-mile comprehensive warranty. Visit any of our 13 locations today, or click drivehubler.com.
Hubler has it all.
I'm a veteran. My victory was admitting I had PTSD and getting help.
As America's veterans face challenges, DAV is there.
I no longer see it as a weakness, but as a sign of strength. I call it post-traumatic growth.
DAV provides a lifetime of support, helping veterans of every generation get the benefits they've earned.
I am a veteran. I lost both legs in Vietnam.
Every year, DAV helps more than 1 million veterans so they can reach victories great and small.
My victory was getting my benefits and a good education.
I'm a veteran. When I got out, I felt like nowhere was safe. My victory was finding the help I needed.
But there's more to be done and more victories to be won.
Thanks to DAV, now I feel like I'm human again.
Help support more victories for veterans. Go to DAV.org.
Look through your children's eyes, and you will discover the true magic of a forest. Find a forest near you and start exploring at discovertheforest.org.
Indy Humane. Find your new best friend today. Visit indyhumane.org.
Yeah, oh yeah, what condition my condition was in.
I woke up this morning with the sun down, shining in.
You're listening to Saturday Night on the Circle on 93 WIBC.
Brown paper bag.
Richard Allen stands accused of the Delphi murder.
I tripped on a cloud
and now attorneys have made an emergency request for him to be moved to a new prison due to his deteriorating physical condition. Small correction. I'd said he was residing in the Cass County Jail. Wrong. That's where they're wanting to move him. He's currently out the Westville Correctional Facility, and they are requesting to move him to the Cass County facility, releasing pictures of his condition to the news. And if you compare what he looked like when he was booked and what he looks like now, it is markedly different. And of course, they don't tend to treat child murderers or child molesters very well in prison. But the family of these the Delphi victims deserve answers. This man has to stand trial. There are too many unresolved questions about the events that transpired, about his involvement, and he can't die before the trial even begins. That would be an incredible injustice and disservice to the victims, to the family. And we need answers, and we're only going to get answers if he remains in reasonable physical condition. Now, if they ultimately find him guilty, much like Jason Hammer, I don't care too much about how he's treated, his physical condition. He can rot there in the jail cell. But innocent until proven guilty, we got to go through the process. And right now, there are too many unresolved questions to be solely pointing the finger at this guy without taking it to a court of law and having the opportunity for all of the evidence to be presented, to be vetted, and ultimately for a conclusion to be reached. Speaking of conclusions to be reached in investigations, there also was a terrible murder on the east side of Indianapolis recently, and no suspect has even been identified. This was a Papa John's delivery man, of all things, who was shot at random, seemingly. His vehicle was stolen, but they left more than $300 in his wallet. And since then, suspect has not been identified. It just a sad commentary on the deteriorating condition generally of the city of Indianapolis, and what we can look forward to if we have more of Joe Hogsett's leadership. Speaking of poor city leadership, though, that brings me to Brandon Johnson, the mayor-elect of Chicago. And if you think things were bad under Lori Lightfoot, get ready, Val, because you're going to in for a problem. Brandon Johnson is even more loony, vowing to send social workers to intervene with violent criminals.
So if defunding the police isn't the answer, what do you plan to do with your resources? Is it less money or more money to police departments?
Well, it's more money towards the areas of needs, right? And as I mentioned before, we're working to double the amount of young people that we hire, not just for summer jobs, but for year-round positions. One of the things that I think is actually quite fascinating about our position here in Chicago, we've been pushing this ordinance called Treatment Not Trauma. In essence, first responders, social workers, counselors, EMT, these individuals would show up to calls that require those type of interventions. In fact, in Chicago, almost 40% of the 911 calls are mental health crises.
So get ready for more violence in the city of Chicago, and be prepared for a few emergency responders, of all things, to be caught up in the crossfire by recklessly demanding they intervene with violent criminals in a city that's already to be proven exceedingly dangerous. Evidently, though, the voters of Chicago not learning their lesson and exchanging one leftist radical for another in the race for the mayor's office. Thanks for tuning in to Saturday Night on The Circle. We've got a lot more to come. Stay tuned to 93 WIBC and hop in the chat on YouTube.
For adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy, now there's Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months, and Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Nothing and me go hand in hand. Nothing on my skin, that's my new place. Nothing is every day.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms, such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
With Skyrizi, you could achieve 90% clearer skin. Ask your doctor about the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Planning for retirement all comes down to what matters most for you. Is it a vacation home? Is it traveling the globe? You could call the team at Howard Bailey Financial to help you plan for your retirement and to help you have a successful and fulfilling retirement. Great things in business are never done by one person. They're done by a team of people, and I'm excited to share that Singer Financial is now Howard Bailey Financial, an Indiana-based retirement planning firm.
The Howard Bailey team possesses credibility at both an ethical and professional standpoint. They will deliver you a customized framework that allows you to create the meaning of retirement. Whatever you visualize retirement to be, let the Howard Bailey team customize a plan specifically for you. If you're ready for your best retirement, come forward and see the Howard Bailey difference.
Investment advisory services may be offered through Howard Bailey Securities, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Working with Howard Bailey Securities, LLC cannot guarantee investment success or that specific financial goals will be achieved.
Denny Smith here. Spring's here at Sundown Gardens in Westfield. Right now, Sundown Gardens has 20% off all gift decor in Miss Mary's gift shop. Spruce your home up for spring with 20% off all gift decor. And don't forget to pick up your spring flowers and plants at Miss Mary's too. Sundown has a second location coming later this spring, Miss M's Home and Garden by Sundown Gardens in Bargersville on State Road 135. For now, visit Sundown Gardens at 186th Street and Spring Mill Road and also at sundown.gardens.com.
Today on Hey Culligan's Smart Home, Smarter Water Softener, here's Kevin.
Hey Culligan, can a smart water softener lift those heavy salt bags for me?
Kevin, it can.
Wait, it can?
Yup, the smart high-efficiency water softener from Culligan can alert your dealer when the salt needs to be replaced, and they'll do it for you, so your water stays soft and you stay away from lifting the bags.
I mean, I could lift them if I wanted.
No judgment here, Kevin. We're happy to do it, and we're already on the way. Let us help you out with a free in-home water test with the local Culligan water expert at Culligan.com.
When was the last time you practiced your home fire escape plan? Be sure everyone in your family knows what to do.
Broadcasting from the Peterman Brothers Heating, Plumbing, and Electrical Studios, this is Indy's Mobile News, 93 WIBC. WIBC HD1 Indianapolis. The news starts now.
Escalating tensions in Israel. I'm Joe Chiro, Fox News. Amid a backdrop of recent violence in Israel, the military says 3 rockets were fired from Syria at Israeli territory. No injuries or damage reported. This after a suspected terror attack in Tel Aviv last night that left 1 person dead and 7 others injured when a man drove through a crowd while firing a gun.
The attack took place along the main promenade that sits next to the Mediterranean Sea. A police officer nearby heard this unfolding. He killed the attacker immediately. This does come after another shooting in the Jordan Valley by a Palestinian gunman that killed 2 Israelis. Police are still searching for that shooter. The rising violence has been coupled with rocket fire from Gaza and Lebanon, along with unrest in Jerusalem at the Al-Aqsa Mosque.
Fox's Trey Yingst in Tel Aviv. Taiwan's defense ministry reporting that dozens of Chinese aircraft crossed the Taiwan Strait today. It's believed to be in retaliation for the Taiwanese president meeting with U.S. officials. Iowa Republican Representative Ashley Hinson.
We need to do everything we can to ensure that Taiwan can continue to defend itself. And I agree, we need to ramp up our production of these weapons or allow the Taiwanese people to do it themselves. We've had conversations with President Tsai about how we might be able to do that.
House Speaker Kevin McCarthy met with Taiwan's president this week in California. Protests in Tennessee over gun control laws in the wake of a deadly school shooting that left 3 adults and 3 children dead. Vice President Kamala Harris met yesterday with 3 Democratic lawmakers in Nashville, 2 of whom were expelled by that state's legislature for their role in a protest calling for more gun control. Brooks Koepka has a 4-shot lead over John Rahm at the Masters. 3rd-round play was suspended today by rain. America is listening to Fox News.
From the Fox News Podcasts Network, Fox News Rewind Financial Crisis 08.
This is an extraordinary period for America's economy.
A look back at the biggest financial crisis since the Great Depression.
The market is not functioning properly.
And the events leading up to it from the people who were there.
You started to see the Dow plunge in synchronicity with the vote on the House floor.
Subscribe now at foxnewspodcasts.com or wherever you download podcasts.
Never, ever 100% trust Wall Street.
New from the Fox News Podcasts Network.
I'm Dana Perino, co-host of The Five and co-anchor of America's Newsroom. Join me for Season 3 of my limited time podcast, Everything Will Be Okay. I'll chat with guests who have had major career or life pivots and people who have persevered and are leaving a trail of inspiration for all of us to follow. Of course, we'll have some laughs along the way. Make sure you subscribe to this series wherever you download podcasts. I'm Dana Perino, and everything will be okay.
Pope Francis.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
They were both arrested. Clear overnight, headed into a mild and sunny Easter Sunday. I'm Sasha Nixon. Here's what's trending this hour. Brass knuckles and a gun were used at a fight in Warsaw, Indiana that sent 2 men to jail. Parker Carlson has more.
Multiple people were detained at a home in Warsaw as police tried to piece together the story of a fight that happened just after midnight Saturday. They found the victim who had been sent to the ICU after being shot point blank to the back. Somebody tried to hide the gun in a car after the shooting, but that's not the only weapon that police had to search for. The suspected shooter also had injuries that looked like they were caused by brass knuckles. Officers tried to pull out the ladder to find out they were thrown on the roof. Both men who used the weapons were then charged while everybody else got to go home. Parker Carlson, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
And another fight occurred outside of a school Friday afternoon. Jaden Arnold reports.
2 siblings were waiting in a car rider line to pick up students outside the Lyndhurst 7th and 8th grade center. One of the siblings then stabbed the other amidst a fight. Emergency services and police were called, and one sibling was detained. The victim was injured, but they were found to be okay. Despite happening on school grounds, no students or staff were in danger. The siblings were not students at the school. Jaden Arnold, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
However, if you've been looking to see a new film, now may be the perfect time. The Super Mario Bros. Movie, which just opened, is expected to have the highest grossing opening weekend globally for any animated movie ever. On the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com. Now here's the forecast from the American Standard Cooling Weather Center.
For tonight, clear skies, low temperature dropping to 38 degrees. Tomorrow, beautiful Easter Sunday. Sunny skies throughout the day, high temperature of 66 degrees. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Ryan Morse for 93 WIBC.
1 point, 1 swing, 1 tackle, 1 step. 1 trusted hospital system for orthopedic care. Franciscan Health's orthopedic, sports medicine, and rehabilitation teams offer state-of-the-art treatments, including total joint replacement, physical therapy, and the latest techniques and interventions for a variety of conditions, including arthritis and orthopedic sports-related injuries, keeping you in step, 1 step at a time. Find a full range of orthopedic care in one place. Go to franciscanhealth.org/orthocare.
Hubler has it, savings. Hubler has it, choices.
Hubler really does have it all. All of our pre-owned vehicles are Hubler Q certified, which include a 128-point vehicle inspection, a free Carfax vehicle history report, and 2 warranties. A 2-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty, and a 30-day, 1,000-mile comprehensive warranty. Visit any of our 13 locations today, or click drivehubler.com.
Hubler has it all.
90% of suicide attempts involving a gun are fatal. Be a responsible gun owner. Store all your guns securely. Help stop suicide. Brought to you by End Family Fire and the Ad Council. Through their service, veterans have our backs. Now we should have theirs. Learn more at gotyoursix.org.
You're listening to Saturday Night on the Circle on 93 WIBC.
Former President Donald Trump now finds himself officially arraigned. The first time in history that a former president has been charged criminally in more than 34 counts. And although this represents the deterioration of our constitutional system, not all are disappointed in the charges. These appear to be the weakest, yet some of the most vehement critics are celebrating in the nastiest of ways. Thanks for tuning in to Saturday Night on the Circle. I'm your host, Ethan Hatcher. Producer Carl, beep, 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 pushing those buttons and doing the things to make the show function. Catch the podcast at SaturdayNightOnTheCircle.fireside.fm, WIBC.com, and streaming live on the YouTube, where you can participate in the chat as the show goes on. Who is celebrating? Well, it's the usual suspects. I played Stephen Colbert on last week's show. He's still got that crap-eating grin smeared all over his face, and the crowd just jumping in joyous at Donald Trump's arraignment in the sickest display of partisanship, well, since last time.
It was an absolutely beautiful day here in New York.
Yeah.
You know?
70 degrees. 70 degrees and sunny with a chance of jail. Because about, not that far, like 4 miles south of here, the former president was arraigned on 34 felony counts. He was supposed to arrive at the courthouse around 11 a.m. Once he finally arrived down at the courthouse, we heard these immortal words.
This moment at 1:24 p.m. Eastern Time, Donald J. Trump is under arrest.
Stuff like that out, but I wanted you to hear.
It feels good, but remember,
reaction.
he is innocent until proven so guilty.
Yeah, get your yucks out of the way, because I don't think this case is really going anywhere. Of course, he's already overcome not one but two impeachment trials, being acquitted in the Senate. He was found to have no connection, no collusion with Russia in the congressional investigation. They've thrown everything at him, and now this Alvin Bragg-led prosecution is the thinnest, weakest charges against him yet, and even critics in the mainstream media are picking up on that fact. This was reported by The Hill, also noting skepticism from, of all places, CNN regarding the veracity of the charges. These are misdemeanor charges that are already past the statute of limitations that the district attorney is attempting to bootstrap somehow into federal felony counts, although he lacks the jurisdiction to do so, and the shaky foundation is already becoming apparent.
Now, with the indictment against the president unsealed, it seems some of even the staunchest Never-Trumpers are admitting the case isn't the slam dunk that they were hoping for. Let's check in on CNN.
You know, to be fair, I don't know that a case like this would be brought against Donald Trump, real estate developer, for the same alleged. I mean, who knows? Maybe it would be, but on the other hand, is it what you thought it was going to be, and are you unimpressed?
It is what I thought it was going to be in terms of focusing on the payments that were made, the falsification of the records, and really tied to the payment that was made to Stormy Daniels. In terms of a case that's being brought against a former president, it's a little underwhelming.
Now that the indictments have been unsealed, we can see exactly how vapid the charges are. These 34 felony counts that you heard Stephen Colbert grossly celebrating over are largely all related to exactly the same thing. This hush money payment to Stormy Daniels that was mislabeled in financial disclosures. So that is the real crime, not the payment itself, the mislabeling in financial disclosures, which Alan Dershowitz made an amazing point. District Attorney Alvin Bragg should show at least one case anywhere in the state of New York in which a corporation has or an individual has been brought to trial for mislabeling hush money payments on financial disclosures, which would pretty much mitigate the point of hush money payments, because you're wanting to prevent the information from getting out. Of course, you wouldn't label it transparently on a public financial disclosure. Where has that ever happened in the state of New York? And there are hush money payments that go through every day. But we know this isn't based on any level of legitimacy. It is largely, it is wholly based on bastardization of the judicial branch. It is a weaponization of the judiciary for political ends. And we see that in Alvin Bragg's primary run in 2021, in which he was bragging, boasting, living up to his name, of suing the Trump family more than 100 times.
The docket. We know. Let's talk about what's waiting for the new DA. The docket. We know there's a Trump investigation. I have investigated Trump and his children and held them accountable for their misconduct with the Trump Foundation. I also sued the Trump administration more than 100 times for DACA, the travel ban, separation of children from their families at the border. So I know that work. I know how to follow the facts and hold people in power accountable.
But these charges seem to be a complete dereliction of his duties as an attorney because they lack substantive ground. This is being noted by George Washington University Law School professor Jonathan Turley, who's now had an opportunity to see the indictment like we all have, concluding, as many critics, that there is no there in these 34 counts of largely the same crimes. You see, they've been entered in various financial disclosures, different places, and each of those individual counts is what's being charged, and that's where you get the 34 number from.
Because this thing has the feeling of like a legal Slurpee. It's instantly satisfying, but has no nutritional value. There's really nothing there.
You didn't see anything that we didn't already know. I mean, we were going in saying, even if there are all these counts, now we know there are 34, but as far as the tying it to the federal crime, you're assuming it's federal election law, right?
I am. Look, the thing is, this is basically what we expected. You had people like Lanny Davis, who represents Michael Cohen, saying, I'm warning you, there's going to be a lot of new crimes here, and there's going to be a lot of new facts. Well, it wasn't. I mean, this was the business falsification theory that we've talked about. The only surprising thing is that Bragg seemed to have solved the question of his authority through ambiguity. He just removed any direct references to what this underlying offense was.
And he was asked about it in the press conference and essentially said, I don't have to tell you.
Yeah.
And he will eventually have to say in the bill of particulars.
He will. And my guess is it's going to be a federal election claim. I mean, the reference to the state election law was so general and ambiguous. I don't think that could sustain this type of action.
So are you thinking that he's betting that this judge is just, because it's this big of a case, is not going to dismiss it?
Yeah. It's like that scene in Braveheart when he says, I hope we didn't get dressed up for nothing. I mean, he's hoping that this judge is going to be very timid and not throw this out. But there are substantial threshold legal questions here. And this case could collapse before it gets to a trial. And this is not the only judge that will have to look at this. And I think that has to weigh heavily on him because there's no there.
Democrats must be gluttons for punishment, incredibly self-sabotaging to come after the former president with the weakest of charges brought against him to date. He has surmounted every legal obstacle placed before him thus far. Especially with what we know now, it seems incredibly likely he will do in this instance as well. Of course, we're coming up on Easter weekend, Easter Sunday happening tomorrow, and it wouldn't be complete without references to Jesus Christ. Marjorie Taylor Greene drawing the comparison between the biblical Savior and Donald Trump.
President Trump is joining some of the most incredible people in history being arrested today. Nelson Mandela was arrested, served time in prison. Jesus was arrested and murdered by the Roman government. There have been many people throughout history that have been arrested and persecuted by radical, corrupt governments. And it's beginning today in New York City. And I just can't believe it's happening, but I'll always support him. He's done nothing wrong.
You know, Producer Carl, in the Bible, Jesus' first miracle was converting water to wine. Our Savior Trump, his first miracle would be converting water to Diet Coke. Thanks for listening to Saturday Night on The Circle. I'm your host, Ethan Hatcher. Stay tuned for more. Up next, our friend Rob Kendall joins the show. We'll be talking more about the Trump indictment and the arraignment and how this impacts him in the Republican primaries. And we'll also talk a little more Abdul Shabazz and his run for mayor of Indianapolis. Don't miss a moment of this award-winning show, Saturday Night on The Circle on 93 WIBC.
The Pothole. Formed in colder months, tiny fissures are born, and in no time at all, they grow into big, gigantic tire killers. That's why you need Matt Baird Traffic.
Watch out on Keystone Avenue.
He'll guide you around these hidden monsters.
Yeah, might as well call it a basement.
And on to safer ground.
You don't want to be in the far left lane.
Mornings and afternoons on 93 WIBC.
What's your favorite diamond shape? Princess cut, pear shape, emerald cut? At Shane Company, we offer both natural diamonds and lab-grown diamonds in 10 different shapes. Since 1929, we've been in the diamond business. Because of our multi-generational relationships with ethical diamond sources, we get first pick of their most beautiful diamonds, whether they're from the earth or made in a lab. Come in and see them with your own eyes. Whether you choose a natural diamond or a lab-grown diamond, it will be the highest quality within its grade. Visit us for diamond stud earrings, a diamond for a personalized pendant, or a stunning center stone for your engagement ring in your favorite diamond shape. Whatever you choose, you can be sure your Shane Company diamond will sparkle from across the room and be treasured for a lifetime. Now you have a friend in the jewelry business. Shane Company and shaneco.com.
QC Kinetics patient Diane Richardson saw her brother-in-law have surgery for pain in his elbow.
My brother-in-law, after that surgery, had his arm in a sling for almost 6 months, extensive PT, pain medication, a lot of restrictions of what he could not do.
So when Diane's husband, Greg, had a similar problem, she encouraged a different treatment, regenerative medicine at QC Kinetics. And the experience was like night and day compared to his brother.
After 6 months, nothing. He hasn't felt any pain, and that has been 2 years since he's had treatment.
Plus, no drugs and no downtime.
He was literally out golfing when he wanted to and doing whatever he wanted to. It was probably 9 months before my brother-in-law got back out on the golf course, and my husband was on the golf course the entire time. And he was so elated. He said, Diane, game changer.
Before you have surgery for that joint pain, get a second opinion. Call QC Kinetics for your free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 317-559-PAIN. That's 317-559-PAIN. 317-559-PAIN.
Hubler has it, savings. Hubler has it, choices.
Hubler really does have it all. All of our pre-owned vehicles are Hubler Q certified, which include a 128-point vehicle inspection, a free Carfax vehicle history report, and 2 warranties. A 2-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty, and a 30-day, 1,000-mile comprehensive warranty. Visit any of our 13 locations today, or click drivehubler.com.
Hubler has it all. Nobody cares for you like family. Family Heating and Air.
Hi, this is Malia with Family Heating and Air, and as a mom myself, I know it's really important to keep the kiddos healthy. Air quality, humidity, those are super big issues on my concern list. If you share any of these concerns, give family a call, 317-577-8077.
Family Heating and Air is your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
When I was younger, I may have did some stupid things, even committed some crimes, but I'm not a criminal.
I work for youth advocate programs. Yeah, I was Tamani's advocate, helping him stay out of jail, stay in the neighborhood, and get a job.
As a little kid, I experienced trauma and I acted out. Made some mistakes, but I'm not a mistake.
As Jalen's YAP advocate, I'm always here for her.
YAP is a community-based alternative to youth incarceration and neighborhood violence. Youth advocate programs. Learn how at yapinc.org.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of kids in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
No Kid Hungry is providing healthy meals and hope to hungry kids so they can build better futures. Learn more at helpnokidhungry.org.
You're listening to Saturday Night on the Circle on 93 WIBC.
Good evening. This is Saturday Night on the Circle with your Bohemian codger, Ethan Hatcher. Podcasts are uploaded to WIBC.com, and you can find us streaming on the YouTube. As we learned late last week, Manhattan Democratic District Attorney Alvin Bragg followed through with his reckless plan to prosecute the former president, convincing the grand jury to indict Donald Trump, the first time in history this has ever happened to a former president. And now that the indictment has been unsealed, even many critics agree this is the weakest case against the former president yet. Joining us to further unpack this travesty of the judicial system and its potential impact on the 2024 primaries is one half of the Kendall and Casey show, the man Donald Trump himself once called terrific. He's the ineffable and unflappable Rob Kendall, joining us by phone once again. How are you, sir?
Did you call yourself a bohemian crudger?
Bohemian codger. That is a man of artistic tastes and odd habits, usually of an old man.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, now, yes, let's talk about Donald Trump.
Donald Trump. Okay, so now that the indictment has been unsealed, of course, the headline grabber was more than 30 felony counts, and it turns out they're all basically related to the same thing, this payment to Stormy Daniels that was allegedly mislabeled on financial documents, and now he's being brought to court for it, of course, pleading not guilty, but this seems incredibly weak from the Democrats. What I want to ask you, because you have such a great intuition for these things, what's it going to do for the Donald short term, and what's it do for him long term as this unfolds? Compound question there.
Yeah, well, I think it's going to help him short term, which it has. The polling shows he's had a huge spike, especially amongst Republicans.
Not only polling, but fundraising. He's gotten like millions of dollars off this.
Yeah, absolutely. The problem with Trump is he's exhausting, and he will not be able to maintain the sympathy because he's exhausting. Ethan, everybody has that one friend that just pleads for sympathy 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And that person is harder to have sympathy for than your friend who never asks for anything, never wants anything, never asks for any help. And they're just two different types of people. And Donald Trump is exhausting, and he will blow through the goodwill that he is earning right now.
If the Republicans refuse to support Donald Trump after this in the primaries, does that essentially mean we're allowing the Democrats to win using their persecution of the judicial system to derail a president?
Well, I think you can say that a guy is getting a raw deal. I think you can say a guy is getting screwed. I think you can say a guy is being abused by the legal system. Doesn't mean you still have to vote for that guy for president. Look, I like Ron DeSantis. I feel bad for Donald Trump. I think that what is happening to Donald Trump is terrible, and I'm going to speak about it at every opportunity I have. But I'm not obligated to vote for some guy for president just because there's some psycho district attorney in New York.
Ron DeSantis hasn't technically declared for president yet, a fact that many people continue to point out. Does this change his strategy in the approach to the 2024 primaries? Because he's much stronger as a candidate who remains undefeated than if he steps his toes in the water and potentially loses to Donald Trump, then becoming a second-rate candidate.
There's as much chance Ron DeSantis will run for president as you will do the Saturday night on the Circle show on Saturday night. 100%. It is absolutely happening. And DeSantis is going to be smart, right? It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. This stuff with Trump will wear off. Trump will blow the goodwill as he always does because he's exhausting. And he will say stuff and do stuff that will alienate people that are sympathetic to him right now. And DeSantis will plod along, and you know, it'll be mid to late summer before he goes on offense. And I think the beginning will be the introductory story of Ron DeSantis as governor of Florida, which is a pretty compelling one.
Doesn't it ultimately matter, though, because this is going to be a targeted it's going to have the most effect on the base. You know, it's going to energize them the most, and your base voters are typically the primary voters, so ultimately doesn't matter how qualified DeSantis is if their support for Donald Trump becomes a protest vote against the unfairness of the Democrats.
Well, this is where DeSantis is going to be interesting because he's going to have $100 million, which means he can play offense. And to me, offense is going to be holding the mirror up to the Trump voter and talking about Trump's record during COVID and then contrasting it with DeSantis's. Look, Trump signed off on printing $5 trillion. He added $5 trillion to the national debt in 2020. Trump was a pro-Fauci guy. He put Fauci out there. He propped him up. Trump was a pro-mask guy. He was all about the mask. Trump was a pro-lockdown guy. He was for everything shutting down. All of these things are certainly fair game, and when you compare and contrast them to Ron DeSantis, DeSantis looks pretty good. Look, if the Trump voter is going to vote for Trump no matter what, it doesn't matter. But somebody inside the Republican Party is actually going to be able to play offense on Trump's record.
Okay, so short-term boost, but long-term, you think DeSantis is still in a good position? I hope so, because like you, I support DeSantis. I'm tired of the circus sideshow. I want a serious candidate approaching the nomination for president.
Well, think about this, Ethan. When we talk about DeSantis, what do we talk about? His record, which is awesome. Liberty, freedom, tax reform. He's into the culture wars. He leans in. I mean, he is all the stuff. What do we always talk about with Trump? It's some shenanigan outside of his holding an office or public policy proposals. We almost never talk about policy proposals with Trump or things that he's doing. We're talking about Stormy Daniels. We're talking about Michael Cohen. We're talking about Alvin Bragg. We're talking about, McDougal. We're talking about everything but the stuff. And I don't know about you, Ethan, it's exhausting
It
to have
is.
to defend this guy 24/7.
I've got the perfect example of precisely what you're talking about, because even in the midst of what is a slam dunk for Trump, this case with Alvin Bragg, at least optically, he chose to post on Truth Social a picture of him in a baseball bat with the district attorney and forced his current legal representative to defend that on Chuck Todd's show on Meet the Depressed. Of course, he said it was inadvisable and he wasn't responsible for his social media, but it's illustrative of how the conversation is derailed by Trump's antics, even in the midst of something that he can win on.
Yeah, the play for Trump is, look, if they can do it to me, they'll do it to you. But the problem is then he makes it all about himself. Trump has such an opportunity here, and we talked about this earlier, with the goodwill, which is people are looking, they're paying attention. I think any reasonable person would look at what Bragg's doing and say, this is wrong. But instead of garnering the sympathy, now he's going on offense with it, as you said, with the photo with him with the baseball bat. And people are just going, dude, you are ridiculous. You shouldn't go to jail, but you are ridiculous.
He's self-sabotaging. Okay, so I want to move on from Donald Trump. We're going to continue to discuss that as the story develops over the many months, because this is not the end to the story. I do want to focus in on our friend Abdul Shabazz, who's, of course, running for mayor, and seemingly, especially with the fundraising, a David versus Goliath scenario, because Jefferson Shreve has opted for the carpet bombing approach to campaigning. He's on the radio all the time. I can't turn on the dial without hearing his commercials. He stuffed my mailbox with no less than 7 laptop-sized, embossed, laminated, highly colored, thick, card stock mailers. So this guy's all going all out in the fundraising. But I think Abdul's taken a more targeted approach with the primary voters. What's your sense on how Abdul is going to pull through in the primaries coming up here in May?
I don't know about you, Ethan, but I certainly think I need more friends with infinite money. So I'm going to be very careful about what I say here. So you're right. It's going to be interesting. Jefferson Shreve is a successful business guy with infinite money. And he is, as you said, he is just torpedoing the people of the Republican primary voters with information, be they radio ads, TV ads, mailers. Everybody's going to know who's walking into the poll, who Jefferson Shreve is. Now, it's going to come down to, one, how effective is his message? I think they're okay. I think he missed the boat on not doing more of an introductory thing about himself in the beginning. Now, he did one later. And how big is Abdul's name? Well, I think Abdul certainly has a big name inside the Indiana State House, inside the connected political class. A lot of people vote who are not that. So it's going to come down to how big is Abdul's name, and does his message separate him from Jefferson Shreve? Look, as Mike Braun proved in 2018 to Rokita and Luke Messer, it is really hard to beat a person with infinite money because they never run out of resources to tell you to vote for them.
Really hard, but not impossible. And I think the difference between Abdul and Shreve is one of substance, because all Shreve is doing is taking the tough on crime white guy approach, which I'm sorry, it may resonate with many Republican voters, but it's not a winning strategy in the city of Indianapolis. So in that, I find him to be kind of a spoiler candidate. If in fact he does win the primaries, I don't think he's going to win the general, whereas Abdul has much more substance and much more depth to his plans and aspirations for the mayor's office, as far as the public works, public safety, public trust. I'm bought in on the plan, and I just hope he's able to communicate that with the average primary voter, which, like you said, he's connected in the state house, but I also think he's going to the Republican dinners, the Lincoln Day dinners and such, and connecting on a personal level with many people who are primary voters, because primary voters are the kind of person that goes to those dinners. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, full disclosure, I gave Abdul money, and
I did too.
Yeah, Abdul and I have been friends for years now, and really good friends, and maybe even best friends or whatever. But I think one of the things Abdul has got to try to do in the close is take advantage of his name and get that earned media. And for those who don't know, earned media is when you get interviews on television, radio shows like this, because he is a personality. He is a character. He's a really good dude. And we'll see. I mean, it's just really hard, though, when you're up against a guy who can always buy his way onto the airwaves. That's a really tough thing to do. And again, Todd Rokita and Luke Messer found that out against Mike Braun a couple of years ago. It'll be interesting to see how many people show up to vote, and that's the only thing they're voting on. If you're voting with a purpose, you're probably not as easily swayed because you're desperately paying attention, or you're intimately rather paying attention, versus people who, well, it's my time to go vote. Hey, I saw that dude. He's running for mayor. Cool. I like his ad. So long story short, Ethan, I have no idea what's going to happen.
Of course, we don't know until after the primary takes place, but I use the metaphor David versus Goliath because although Abdul's got an uphill battle, it's not impossible. And sometimes the little guy pulls through, and I hope that's the case here.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Again, I think it's, like I said, no matter what happens, though, I've realized I desperately need more very rich friends.
Thanks for your time, Rob. I appreciate you coming on the show as always.
Thank you, Ethan. You do a phenomenal job, and you're looking so skinny and beautiful. We're all proud of you.
You're listening to Saturday Night on the Circle. Stay tuned for more on 93 WIBC.
Hammer and Nigel.
Noble Romans, I think one of the original ones is still open on 10th Street on the west side by Ben Davis.
Yeah.
That's one of the OGs of pizza places. Walking up on those little steps and you can watch them make the pizza through the giant window.
Because I saw an ad for that 10th Street Noble Romans, and I looked at the monster, and I thought, you know what? That's a pretty damn scary monster.
Right, that blue thing with the green nose.
Hammer and Nigel, weekdays 3 till 7 on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Planning for retirement all comes down to what matters most for you. Is it a vacation home? Is it traveling the globe? You could call the team at Howard Bailey Financial to help you plan for your retirement and to help you have a successful and fulfilling retirement. Great things in business are never done by one person. They're done by a team of people, and I'm excited to share that Singer Financial is now Howard Bailey Financial, an Indiana-based retirement planning firm.
The Howard Bailey team possesses credibility at both an ethical and professional standpoint. They will deliver you a customized framework that allows you to create the meaning of retirement. Whatever you visualize retirement to be, let the Howard Bailey team customize a plan specifically for you. If you're ready for your best retirement, come forward and see the Howard Bailey difference.
Investment advisory services may be offered through Howard Bailey Securities, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Working with Howard Bailey Securities, LLC cannot guarantee investment success or that specific financial goals will be achieved.
Is your car still under warranty?
No, not anymore.
My mechanic just suggested an extended service plan from Ox Car Care.
Ox Car Care?
Yeah, Ox will cover repair bills if anything happens to the car. New brakes, transmission, AC, or engine problems. Plus, Ox Car Care offers free oil changes, tire rotation, and roadside assistance.
Wait, you pay nothing on repairs? Ox gets it fixed? Free oil changes, free tire rotation, and free roadside assistance?
Yeah, you don't pay. Ox pays. Ox even has a 30-day money-back guarantee and is A+ rated on the BBB. They handle their claims from start to finish, unlike those other warranty companies.
The last thing I need is an unexpected car repair bill. I'm calling Ox Car Care now.
Call Ox Car Care for your free quote, 800-787-2319. Ask about senior and military discounts. Ox covers commercial car owners, too. Don't get stuck with a major car repair bill. Call Ox Car Care, 800-787-2319. 800-787-2319.
Fox News, I'm Joe Giro. China has sent warships and dozens of warplanes toward Taiwan in apparent retaliation for a meeting between U.S. lawmakers and Taiwan's president. House Appropriations Committee member Representative Ashley Hinson.
President Xi has very clearly shown that he is a bully. And you know what bullies respond to? They respond to strength. So that's exactly what the United States is showing here.
House Speaker Kevin McCarthy held talks with President Tsai Ing-wen on Thursday in California. More flights are expected to be cut as a result of a shortage of air traffic controllers.
Experts say that also means higher ticket prices. The air traffic controller shortage is a nationwide problem, but especially bad here in the New York City area. The Air Traffic Control Center on Long Island is staffed at about 54% of what's needed. That's below the current national average of 81%.
Fox's Lydia Hu. America is listening to Fox News.
Tax season is upon us, and many folks are expecting some sort of refund. Why not put that money to good use? Most people don't have money lying around for foundation repair services, so make it easy on yourself. Use your tax refund to repair or maintain your home's foundation, basement, crawl space, and even concrete with Indiana Foundation Service. A home with a faulty foundation is not only an eyesore, but also a safety hazard. Moldy crawl spaces, damp basements, and cracked concrete are all signs that point to a problem with your home's foundation. If you notice these signs, get help quickly with Indiana Foundation Service. Ignoring these signs can cause you to spend more than just your tax refund. Hire a quality company to perform the job with ease and expertise. Visit IndianaFoundation.com for a free inspection with absolutely no obligation to you. Invest in your greatest asset, your home, by visiting IndianaFoundation.com today.
Indiana Foundation. station service, reliability from the ground up.
Spring has sprung and the sky's floodgates have opened. If you have a clogged pipe, who to call is a no-drainer. Call my friends at Hope Plumbing. They're the experts in the industry and trustworthy plumbers who care about your health and safety of your home. During the month of April, Hope is offering a $49 mainline cleaning with a free camera inspection. Stop the gurgling pipes and don't stress over all those tree roots in your yard. Call Hope Plumbing today and schedule your $49 mainline cleaning.
When you've been injured in a car wreck, there's a lot at stake. Your family, your job, your future. And the insurance company knows there's a lot at stake for them too. That's why you deserve a law firm with a proven track record of success. I'm attorney Darryl Isaacs. Reputation matters. Experience matters. You matter. When everything's at stake, Isaacs & Isaacs is here for you in Indiana. Just click to get help quick at WeWin.com.
This is ground control to Major Tom. You've really made the grade.
You're listening to Saturday Night on the Circle on 93 WIBC.
Now it's time to leave the
Earlier in the show, we heard the Biden administration's scandalous report blaming Donald Trump for the disastrous withdrawal in Afghanistan. Well, in the week since the Nashville shooting at a Christian church, it turns out the real victims of that shooting are the transgender community. This, according to a transgendered pastor in North Dakota and also the Biden administration itself. We'll be diving into that and the ridiculousness entailed. Thanks for listening to the show. I'm your host, Ethan Hatcher. This is Saturday Night on the Circle, and you can find our podcasts at WIBC.com, Saturday Night on the Circle.fireside.fm, and join the chat in progress on the YouTube stream. We're also posted to Facebook, to Twitter. Share the show, like, tell your friends, and show your support. Okay. So this was an absolutely wild moment, and not the only Christ comparison we've had on the program. Earlier heard Marjorie Taylor Greene comparing Donald Trump to the arrest of and execution of Jesus Christ. Well, this transgender activist and of all things pastor at St. Mark's Lutheran Church in North Dakota, Micah Luwagi, who goes by they/them pronouns, compared the transgender shooter to the crucifixion of Jesus Christ in the fallout. This was for their Easter sermon. Apparently, here's just a small excerpt of the insanity.
They would kill the one whose reputation as a teacher and healer and whose mission of love and dignity was so very threatening to their own reputation that they needed to kill him in order to preserve their good image. It's baffling to me that someone's existence can be so threatening that people decide they need to be controlled, that they need to have laws made against them, or even worse, that the people that they find to be so threatening should die. There are a significant number of people who have deemed that the fact that the Nashville shooter happened to be a trans person, so it's been reported, is just the excuse they need to call for the eradication of trans folks.
What a hyperbolic load of nonsense. I've not heard one single person anywhere suggest that trans people need to be executed after the Nashville shooting, either before or since. That is a load of nonsense. And to compare it to the biblical text. Look, I'm just glad that I'm not religious, so I actually have very little stake in these conversations these days, but absolutely ridiculous. So up to you to decide which is the more clownish comparison between Jesus Christ, either Donald Trump or the transgendered shooter of Nashville. Only on Saturday Night on the Circle. Absolutely ridiculous. But Karine Jean-Pierre also making interesting observations, saying that it's not, we can't really decide, we can't call whether this transgender shooting of a Christian school is a hate crime. Here was the moment caught on tape.
Former Vice President Pence said that if the shooter who killed 6 people in that Christian school in Tennessee was motivated by a hatred towards Christians, that the crime should be categorized as a hate crime. I'm wondering what the president thinks of that kind of designation.
It's not for us to decide.
Not for us to decide. I wonder how the administration would respond if it was, say, a Christian shooter that attacked a transgender shelter. That's not what happened. In this case, the shoe was on the other foot, but the administration can't decide if it's a hate crime. We'll have to leave it up to the local authorities. Like, look, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, and this definitely fits the bill of a hate crime. But it's very important that we pay attention to these issues, not only to protect children, which definitely are under attack and being specifically targeted again by the administration. And I'll play you a supplemental soundbite from Karine Jean-Pierre here in just a moment, but also note the way the transgender community treats women. And it's funny because liberals used to take up the mantle of women's rights, and now they're the first ones frothing at the mouth to attack women who are defending their gender, or I should say their sex, their gender. Well, we'll get into the specifics of that later, too. In women's sports, this is Riley Gaines, who actually had to be shuffled into a safe room at San Francisco State University after she was assaulted physically and verbally by trans activists at the college. Check this out. She actually sounds like a heavy metal singer. You could do that for heavy metal. Trans rights are human rights. Oh my God, these individuals sound absolutely unhinged, and that is the larger problem here. I don't think that the transgender shooter was specifically inspired because they are transgender, but it speaks to a larger issue about mental health problems. And one thing that you won't hear about in the news this week, or at least from very few outlets, is actually another shooting that was stopped in Colorado, but it's getting very little coverage. William Wentworth, 19, charged with planning to commit mass murder at the Timberview Middle School in Colorado Springs, according to an affidavit. His sister turned him in and doesn't refer to him by male pronouns, but rather as Lily. On Thursday this week, he was formally charged with criminal attempt to commit murder in the first degree, criminal mischief, menacing, interference with staff, faculty or students or educational institutions, and the defendant's preliminary hearing is slated for May 5th at 2:30 p.m. Bond set for $75,000. I specifically wanted to get into the emergency responders, the police officers who came in to respond to the emergency 911 call, and talking about mental health issues. I want you to pay special attention to the description given by these officers of the living conditions where this potential shooter was ultimately arrested. This is straight from a report from the local Fox affiliate in Colorado Springs. According to the affidavit, a deputy with the Elbert County Sheriff's Office was called to a disturbance in the block of Doubletree Ranch Circle in the unincorporated town of Elbert Friday evening on March 31st. The 911 caller reported her sister, identified as Lily Whitworth, threatened to shoot up a school at least twice and has severe anger issues, per arrest papers. Upon arrival, the deputy entered the home and noticed trash piling up all around the house to where it made it hard to walk inside. The deputy also reported numerous containers filled with half-eaten food, with mold growing inside, and numerous alcoholic beverage containers laying around the house. This is a 19-year-old they arrested. The deputy was directed to the room where Whitworth was reportedly sleeping and saw 2 holes in the wall that appeared to be punch marks, as well as the door to the bedroom off its hinges and laying beside the opening. Inside the room was trash piled up as high as Whitworth's bed, a hole in the wall beside the bed, and sheets stained brown, according to the affidavit. While being questioned, Whitworth told the deputy that they had been planning a school shooting for a month or 2 and was about a third of the way from doing it. And because of the identity of this individual involved, you're seeing very little coverage in mainstream media outlets. But talking about the gross conditions described by responding officers speaks to the level of mental decay that is being proudly defended by the administration. This is a problem, and we should feel sympathy for these individuals because this is a cry for help. Stable people do not live in piles of trash. Stable people do not have a 40% suicide rate, and that has been increasing as acceptance of the transgender community has also been increasing in the community. Like, the transgendered individuals were not murdering themselves or committing suicide en masse in the 1950s or the 1900s. It's only with the added acceptance and recognition. It's not aiding the problem. It's worsening the problem with these incredibly high suicide rates. And the most important thing is the involvement of children. The involvement of children. They're the ones that need to be protected the most. Adults can do what they want, but now the administration is openly admitting that they want to subject minors to life-altering genital mutilation, and supposedly there's upwards of 150,000 of them in the country. This is Karine Jean-Pierre in the wake of the Nashville shooting, saying the administration has the back of these transgendered children, not adults, 150,000 children. And they will, of course, fight back, maybe in the same way that this Whitworth character intended to.
More than 50% of transgender youth in the U.S., which is estimated to be more than 150,000 kids, live in states in which transgender youth have lost access to or at risk of losing access to gender-affirming care. Look, this is awful news. Let's be very clear about that. LGBTQI plus kids are resilient. They are fierce. They fight back. They're not going anywhere. And we have their back. This administration has their back.
12 states so far have stepped forward to protect children, signing various bans of what's called gender-affirming care into law for minors, a step that is so common sense it shouldn't need to be codified, but in the world we live in, it does. And this is demonstrating why the administration saying that they would love to subject more than 150,000 children to these types of procedures. And it's a bastardization of terms to even call it gender-affirming care, because I've been told by these leftist activists that gender and sex are different things. Gender exists on a spectrum, you see, but sex is binary. And yet, when they seek to implement this so-called gender-affirming care, it's done by changing your sex. So they don't even understand the terms that they're discussing, and they don't play by the rules. It's more important now than ever to protect the children, especially when these levels of mental health issues are not only being ignored, they're being encouraged. You're listening to Saturday Night on The Circle. Coming up next, we're wrapping up the show, so stay tuned.
Kendall and Casey.
Jeff Reitz, Guinness Book of World Records, the most consecutive visits to Disneyland. 2,995 days in a row.
Why didn't he just get a job there?
Great point, Kev. Maybe Kings Island will be his next conquest. I don't know.
That says greatest achievement.
Does he put that on his resume?
I don't think he has a resume.
Kendall and Casey. Weekdays 9 till noon on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now's the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
There are screening tests to catch cancer early. Visit cancer.org/getscreened.
Tamer and Nigel for Window Nation. Everyone loves a smart investment, and there is no better place to put your money right now than in your home. Window Nation has the perfect offer for anyone with a home at least 20 years old. Protect and increase the value of your home and energy efficiency by installing new Window Nation windows. Window Nation is making it insanely easy to do so with 0% interest for 5 years. Plus, Window Nation will give you 2 windows free with every 2 you purchase.
Go with the window company that has installed nearly 2 million windows, including mine, by installers with over a decade of experience using only top-of-the-line installation materials, which is why 96% of all installations require no follow-up service. Call Window Nation today and lock in these limited-time savings when you need them the most. 866-90-NATION and pay 0 interest for 5 years. The life of your loan, and get 2 free windows with every 2 that you buy. 866-90-NATION or go to windownation.com. Tell them Hammer and Nigel sent you.
What is the kingdom of God?
Pastor John Gable of Tabernacle Presbyterian Church in Indianapolis.
In the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus offers a rather curious listing of those who enter the kingdom of God. The poor in spirit, those who mourn, the meek, the pure in heart, the peacemakers, and the persecuted, among others. It's an unexpected list that includes those the world often classifies as rejects and outcasts. It is this countercultural Jesus that we seek to follow at TAB, whose message runs counter to our culture of self-centeredness and self-absorption. How do we follow this Jesus at TAB? Come find out for yourself by joining us in worship or visiting us online at tabpres.org.
Tabernacle Presbyterian Church, 34th Street and Central Avenue in Indianapolis, invites you to worship Sunday morning at 8 or 10 a.m. If you can't make it in person, tune in to Sunday with Tab, Sunday mornings at 6:30 on WIBC, or find us online at tabpres.org.
Hubler has it, savings. Hubler has it, choices.
Hubler really does have it all. All of our pre-owned vehicles are Hubler Q certified, which include a 128-point vehicle inspection, a free Carfax vehicle history report, and 2 warranties. A 2-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty, and a 30-day, 1,000-mile comprehensive warranty. Visit any of our 13 locations today, or click drivehubler.com.
Hubler has it all.
You let him try violin because you love him. And if you love him that much, love him enough to make sure he's buckled up and in the back seat. Find out more at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Oh, it's such a perfect day. I'm glad I spent it with you.
This is Saturday Night on the Circle on 93 WIBC.
Thanks for listening to the show. This is Saturday Night on the Circle, an abbreviated segment before we wrap up. The Associated Press reporting that about 25 train cars derailed on Sunday last week near the town of Paradise, Montana. No injuries reported. No hazardous materials have been released. However, the rail cars that reached the river were carrying Coors Light and Blue Moon. It's not been left floating down the river. It has been secured in the derailment area. I'd like to note the connection between that and what happened the same day, the final day of women's finals, the day before the men's championship. Transgender social media influencer Dylan Mulvaney shared a sponsored post on their Instagram account promoting Bud Light March Madness contest. The same day that a train car derailed carrying Coors and carrying Coors and Blue Moon competitors. So I think this is all part of a larger conspiracy forcing you to buy Bud Light. Fortunately, I've never purchased the product ever intentionally, and neither should you, because why would you drink weak swill? I've had old guys telling me for years that Bud Light is weak beer for sissy boys. And here Dylan Mulvaney's face is plastered on the can. The prophecies are true. That's why I drink Sam Adams, or better yet, buy local craft beers. That brings us to a close. Thanks for listening to the show, ladies and gentlemen. I leave you with my parting words of wisdom. Wherever you are, whoever you're with, whatever you're doing, remember that life is a state of mind. See you next week.